I thought that you might be interested in learning a little bit about an application that really helped me in training for my last marathon, which I'm using to train for my current marathon. You might not know about it, and it's by Google itself, and it's really easy, and it's a pretty powerful, amazing, free application. So if you're interested, the first thing you should do is go to the Android market and search for Google My Tracks. 2 words, My Tracks, and you should get it without any trouble. It's easy to find Google products in the Android market. And once you've got that installed on your phone, this is my home screen. Yours is obviously different. If you don't already have it in your as a shortcut on your desktop, go ahead and find it in your Applications button here and locate it with your applications. When you select My Tracks, the first thing you'll see, if you've already used the program before, is a map of your most recent run. And if you're ready to run again, just go ahead and click the menu button on your phone, or the equivalent on the Nexus One, and you'll get this screen pop up with links to where you can see information about your previous tracks, markers on your maps, your current location, and a few more options that we may or may not get into. But if you're ready to run, just click Record Track. That'll bring up this empty stats screen. This is the screen that will increment as you run, showing you a wealth of information and details here that are really helpful. If you want to hold it while you're running. That's the one difficult. It's not a watch. You have to look at it. And I usually run with it in a pouch, and at milestones when I want to check how I'm doing, I just pull it out and select it and see it. Actually, I usually run with it, I usually run with it in a sealed plastic bag. I sweat a lot, so I have a little pouch that I keep it in, and I have to pull it out of the pouch because it's not waterproof like a watch is. So you want to be careful with sweat on it. So with those caveats out of the way, while you're running with it, this will notch up. You'll see your speed, which is sort of reliable, but you really want to see it accumulate more. It's pretty erratic on how the speed actually looks when you're running. So these are what you want to see when you're going. The total distance will be accurate. It'll give you your total time, and it'll give you your total moving time. So when you stopped at a red light or whatever, that stat will stop. And you'll, if you're going for pace and figuring out your average speed, if you didn't stop, your average moving speed would be different than your average speed, and this gives you both. And it'll give you your elevation stats, which are really cool if you're trying to run for hills or challenging, like I'm running for the Boston Marathon, and I want to make sure that I run some hills. You'll be able to do that. And it gives you your latitude and longitude, which is pretty cool. Once you have run your distance, you'll see it incremented up, and just hit the menu button again and hit stop recording. You'll be greeted with this screen where you can put in track details. You give your track a name, you identify the activity type, and that's important to Google in a couple different ways that I'll get to in a second. And you can just write a description of your track. When you're done with that, you click Save, and you'll have your map. There's tons of interesting things from this main screen that you can do. The first thing, if you just tap anywhere on the screen, you'll get these navigation handles. And one is for elevation. That's the one that looks like a histogram on the left, and one is for your stats. That's this clock on the right. And this button down here that we'll get to in a second with a down arrow. So if you want to look at your stats, go ahead and click on the clock. This is a run that I did a couple weeks ago for the training team that I'm running with. You'll see it's 13 miles with a total time of 1:48:28. And my moving time is 1:43:44. So along the line, there were a couple water stops. I had to stop for traffic once or twice. So about 5 minutes there, I changed, and this will give me my average speed for the whole thing. And it looks like I had an elevation gain of over 1,000 feet, which is pretty impressive. It felt flatter than that, actually. But So there you go, and that gives you a wealth of details. Now, if you go back to your map screen, just hit your back button, you'll find, click on the histogram, and you'll get your elevation data in the form of a histogram, which is a neat way to visualize immediately the elevation gain and loss in your run without the added details, which you can dig into deeper in your stats. So going back to the map with navigation screen that I was telling you about, this down arrow is where the magic really happens. If you select it, you'll get a list of options. You can edit your details on the run. You can share it with friends, which means you can send a link to your Google Map, and you can integrate with Twitter, I think. But I haven't experimented with all those things because, frankly, I don't think anybody really cares but me. So, but the thing here that will really help you is click Send to Google, and that'll give you this screen. And you select where you want to do it. I selected Google My Maps and Google Docs, and I want to create a new map of my run with details, and I want to send it to Google Docs. And this is where selecting your activity type makes a difference. So if you selected running, Google Docs will maintain a spreadsheet for running. If you selected cycling, it'll maintain a different spreadsheet, and whatever the spreadsheet associated with that is, it'll add a new entry in that spreadsheet in Google Docs for you, so that way you can keep your different kinds of workouts separate. Once you have that, you click Send Now, and it goes off to Google. And that's where some really cool stuff happens. So when you're in Google, it looks like this. You've got a spreadsheet here with all of your runs that you've been tracking, and they automatically come in with a new line. For running, for instance, this is my running list, and you can see all the details that you can have here. The name of the run, the description, this is the field that you filled out there. The date is automatically filled in, the date and time from your phone. The distance in units, you can change those obviously, your speeds, and your elevation gain. And over here you have a link to your maps if you selected Send to Google My Maps. Just select the URL, or when you're in Google Maps, if you're logged in, you can access it that way, and go off to Google Maps. Here's my maps. You can see these are all my runs that I've sent to Google Maps. For the run that we just most recently looked at, I click on the run name, and I've got my map on Google Maps. This will give you all sorts of stats. This will give your stats at a glance when you click on it. These are all the stats from your stats screen. It'll give you your elevation gain in more detail. And it also will give you statistics for mile markers. You can either set your own mile markers manually on the phone, but that's a little clumsy if you're running because you have to go through the navigation. If you don't, it'll automatically establish markers, somewhat arbitrarily it seems, on long runs to distinguish where it goes. Once you're all there, you've basically got everything you need, and you can track everything you want. You can find out if you're getting faster, if you're going further, if you're meeting your goals. And once you get this, you can download in Excel and do all sorts of great number crunching with it, as Michael Milton was doing in Headfirst Data Analysis, and which he'll be actually using a running scenario in Headfirst Excel. Not using this data because it didn't quite work, but another one for marathon training, which I think would be pretty cool, so look out for that.